We want to conclude this meeting, Sven and I. Sven is going to put up some concluding remarks now of his perception of the conference in just a minute, I guess. Sven is the first and, at the moment, only honorable member of Lean Construction Denmark. He has been in the business for a lot of years and is still going strong and pushing us to the limits from time to time, but still getting the best out of us as well. Sven will try to conclude it, and when he has done that, I'll have a few remarks at the end as well.
Thank you. Okay, my slides are. Yeah, everything is on and the microphone's on. I just have to find out the technology. I have been my reflections last night on this conference and further today used the heading. The conference didn't have a heading, but I gave it the heading: cooperation and collaboration. That was the title of Annette's first paper yesterday, and I think that was sort of set the agenda. This doesn't work that way. And it set an agenda for what we have been talking about throughout this conference. At least you can interpret all the presentation in the light of that. First, into my mind came that we have 3F as a friendly host here once again. They were our host in 2012 when we had the EGLC meeting here in Denmark, and that was at the education facility in Elsinore, and we had a fantastic conference. This is a conference that old-timers in EGLC still remember as the best, or at least one of the best. And I had the same feeling. Also, the weather was fine, that's another thing. But the social part of the conference was very big. We were everybody located in the same place. We had a lot of informal talks and discussions besides the science speeches and good food, a lot of drinking, plays, and gymnasium, golf course, and whatever made available. And the participants didn't really believe that this was the workers' educational center and not sort of some conference place. Well, it was a great success, and now we have been here in 3F's nice facilities, and I think we have seen the same friendly welcome, and we have to remember who was said about lunch, but the lunchroom is the staff's lunchroom and not the guests' lunchroom, so therefore we have to respect that lunch hour. But I think that was a key issue in the success of this conference. I also remember this as a EGLC conference with quite a high number of participants as far as I remember them. We are usually a much smaller group, and this is again a situation, as one of you mentioned in the Plus Delta, that gave room for a lot of talks, exchange of ideas between the participants, and we were a rather mixed group compared to so many other times where we are the same few people that meet again and again and again. Here it was new inputs, new ideas. Very fine. I think, coming back to cooperation and collaboration, that these issues, we can discuss the difference between cooperation and collaboration, but I think that's moving too far into the science we are talking about behind us. But the key issue, if we understand the project as a flow, as we do in lean construction, that is cooperation. It is the interaction between us that's a key issue, not as we traditionally see in project management, where it's the individual operations. Here we recognize it's the handovers that is of importance in our project management, and it's a matter of establishing a reliable, continuous flow in order to promote the construction process. And flow changed our view, the word flow changed our view in many ways. My first thinking when I heard the word was hydraulics. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but it is part of at least was part of my engineering education. And there is a whole science out there about flow of water mostly, but also, of course, flow of other liquids, flow of air. And there's a lot of terminology, a lot of understanding sitting there, which might be useful in our work. I have just taken up a few ideas which comes from that flow thinking, and the first one is probably more from the telephone traffic, but anyway, it is a curing theory. This is Danish theory, by the way, and more than 100 years old, but still it seems to be forgotten in Danish engineering thinking that things that flow has a variability where things goes up and down in a steady state has curing problems, and they have phenomena such as bottlenecks and waiting time or whatever. And this is of key importance in our understanding of the construction process, because we have exact the same thing there. I also came to think of the term velocity. We were talking about speed at some time, but I think the proper word in the physical sense is a velocity, which is speed with direction. And that is what we are interested in our production process, to keep up speed in a certain direction towards the value we are going to create. Again, something of importance I feel we have been discussing here, and I feel I got new ideas from that. It also led me to think about characteristics of flow, and typically at least in hydraulics, we talk about laminar or turbulent flow. I'm not sure how many of you know the difference. Should I explain them? Anyway, laminar is a lazy river, the old Mississippi or something like that, just flowing along. The turbulent flow is, like the word almost say, it is the mountain wildbeck, where the waters tumble down and there are falls there, what's called rivulets, I think is the term. But everybody who has tried their hand at whitewater rafting will know what I'm talking about. Two completely different forms of flow. Two completely physical different forms of flow, governed by different principles, governed by different laws in physics. And the interesting thing about them is that a laminar flow can turn turbulent just like a phase transition. Bang, it changes this state, and it can change back again to a laminar, from turbulent to laminar. And it happens sort of with minor influences on the stream, something happens. And indeed, that is what I see in the construction process when I look at it as a flow, because what we have is something moving quiet and lazy and all of a sudden we are in a chaotic situation. Nobody is able to explain it, but it happens all of a sudden, boom, here we are, chaos comes out of nothing. And that is things we have to get into our backbones if we want to manage the construction process in an efficient, modern way. So something comes to me, and that brings me to an issue we have touched upon several times during this conference, and as we always do at conferences, that is line of balance or last planner. Key question, which way to control this? And in my opinion, we have the answer here. We have the answer that line of balance assumes a laminar foreseeable flow, whereas last planner expects turbulence, chaotic situation, unpredictable situations, and take hand of that. So all of a sudden, it becomes a choice for the project manager. Would we in this project, or dare I in this project, consider it ordered, foreseeable, and therefore laminar in this flow? Okay, last planner. No, line of balance or do I foresee chaos sooner or later here, because I know shit happens all the time, always. So if you say this is my approach to life, then I would advise you to use Last Planner. So we had all of a sudden a more theoretical, if I may use that word, a basis for choosing our management tool through our terminology, our flow terminology. We have been given a way of evaluating the situation, the project we are going to handle. Let's see how this works. It doesn't. Silly me. Yep. Oh, no. What? That was one too much. No. Okay. Let's look a bit into the future. I think what we have made here is also outlined a roadmap for the future work in the LCIs, or the Lean Construction Associations around the world. Randy asks for ideas on the very first evening on Wednesday, where we discuss that and what is the expectation from the Lean Construction Associations or Lean Construction Institutes, from the industry, from the members. And I say there's a lot of topics which we have been discussing here, and not least Alan's summing up our session this morning. And I think that gives a lot of stuff for working. So where's Randy? If you haven't got the answer before now, then we'll have it here. I think a key issue which we have to keep in mind is that the lean construction is characterized by not being like other kind of project management. Laura Koskela has said it very clearly. Lean construction is a theory-based construction approach to construction management. Theory, that's a key word, because the theory we are basing ourselves on this, mostly Koskela's, but now also hydraulics and my idea about chaos theory, that brings us from being a practical skill, lean construction, from being a skill to being a science as well. And that is important because we like to undertake our development in the university environment, and universities deals with science and not with practical skills. That is for the engineering school to do. So I think in that situation we need to listen to Shigeo Shingo, the Japanese guru behind Toyota, who said it is not a matter of, or he said most people from the Western world tend to ask about know-how, whereas they should ask for know why. And know why is the theory idea. It is to understand why we are doing it, not how we are doing it. That comes by itself. But why are we doing this? What is the system we are going to manage all about? And then it's fairly easy to understand the management methods, explain them. I also think that Alan brought something very important into the debate by saying shared understanding. We have a discussion, Alan, is outstanding, but I'll probably see it next week. But or you may write, because I don't think a shared understanding is a flow, but something else. But let us turn back to that. But no matter what, in our cooperation, in our collaboration, and in our process and in our management flow, shared understanding is of paramount importance. We really need to have that in order to get on, and get on in a way where we inspire each other instead of just discussing with each other or arguing against each other. So the shared understanding of the theory on a basis can really bring us forward in the lean environment, lean construction environment. Say so. All that calls, of course, for open mindsets for all participants, and what I feel is a key issue, a flexible mental model. Your mental model of the construction process should be flexible. You should be ready to change it. Change it for many participants from being a matter of operations, of cost, and to be a subject of flow and value creation. Flow is a matter of schedule, whereas cost is a matter of operations is a matter of cost, and value is something completely new. I have not yet seen a value manager in a project organization. And why? But because we don't perceive the importance of the project is to that the objective of the project is to create value. Without value creation, it's meaningless to undertake the project. So, just as I recommend we have an operations manager, which is a traditional classical project management, I recommend strongly that we have a process manager, which we have in the most Danish implementations. And even where we try to avoid the process manager, he or she turns up anyway under another name. And we might as well recognize it is needed if you have to manage the flow by say, last planner. But also, the value management. I think you should think about it, those of you who are dealing with project management. How do we make sure that the client's expectation about value is fulfilled? Is he happy? Does he sleep well at night? Is he nervous about the outcome of his project? It's not value. Create value is create a happy feeling about not only the outcome of the project, but also of the process itself. And leads to a lot of new thoughts once you start along that line. And I promise you, you can improve those of you who are providing projects, execution, contractors, engineers, architects. You can provide a lot of additional value by just thinking about the term, and you can do it for almost no cost. It's just as an option. But okay, let me, as a concluding remark, say that we are not at all there. Not at all yet, and therefore I strongly advise against that we codify lean construction too much. It is still a topic which is developing with tremendous speed. So don't believe you know it, because you don't. And if you think you know, feel you know it today, you won't know it tomorrow, because something will happen. We are really moving here. Good. But on the other hand, I'm so confident in lean construction as I see it now. I think most of you who has been there today, or these days, feel just like me that the benefits must be there some way. Maybe let me say, we have probably as yet only seen some of them, but I have the feeling there are much more benefits to be gained by moving on along this track. We are not at the end. So, excuse me, my next slide is in Danish. So I think it's in Danish, unfortunately, but I get all of those from the foreign countries know that figure. The drawing from the famous children's book, Winnie the Pooh. I couldn't find the English citation. It is somewhere on my computer, but for the Danes, you know that Winnie the Pooh come bum down the staircase, and he thinks there may be another way of getting down a staircase, but he can't really find out, but he wishes that he would have some time to stop and reflect upon that, and in order to improve the process of getting down of the staircase. Doesn't it sound similar to our situation in one way or another? There's something about, gee, if I had time to stop and think. I have heard that remark several times over the last few days, not least yesterday night over the excellent wines for at the dinner. But that is the feeling quite a few of you have, and that is sort of maybe our key problem, to find the time to stop and think about it. So don't do like Vinnie, just bump ahead, but do as we have done here this last few days, 2 days, 3 days. Stop for a while and think. Thank you.